And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Kent.
Hi, Kent.
I'm sorry. I'm waiting to hit pause on the YouTube feed. No! I'm like 0 for 100. God damn it.
119.
And we are live. Episode 119 of Sling'N podcast. I'm somebody, that's somebody else, and we're going to say some smart things.
Yeah.
Did
you know dogs can't look up?
Dogs can't what?
They can't look up.
Is there a dad joke punchline coming for me on this one?
No, I was just saying we were going to say smart things, so I figured I'd say something smart.
But dogs can look up.
I know that was. It was intentionally idiotic. Anyway, we're going to talk about zeroing handguns.
We're going to talk about zeroing guns.
Oh, shit. Okay, so this is going to be a long episode. Back at lunch, boys and girls.
All the guns. TJ's like, oh, fuck. So,
yeah.
Educational things. Before we get to educational things, let's get to good news things. Our dearest friend, Mr. Hayes, sent me a picture on the texty face of a prosthetic leg that had his name written on it. Did you see that?
I don't think I've seen it yet, though. Being the terrible human being that I am, he messaged me like a couple days ago on Facebook. For those that are playing the home game, I quit messing around with Facebook a long time ago. That being said, I check in on it once in a while. So I haven't seen it yet. Not that I'm ignoring him. It's that I'm ignoring Facebook, and all of you just so happen to be caught in the blast radius of my hatred for the book that is Faces.
Bro, Mark Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan was one hell of an episode.
I'm going to have to watch that one again because while I think Zuckerberg's a complete piece of shit, I like Joe Rogan.
I do too.
I mean, podcasting and all that stuff, right? I mean, he's kind of the gold standard. When you get paid $100 million for a contract with a company that generally streams their shit for free.
If you think about it, we pretty much make like 100 millionths of what he makes podcasting.
It's negative. Like we lose money.
We pay Joe Rogan. So we pay Joe Rogan. Is that what happens?
I mean, practically, yes. Well, all the ad revenue that they're probably sliding into that stuff. It is what it is. But no, we actually lose money because I get the billing statements for this shit.
That's fine. Everything's fine. We educate people.
So today's episode brought to you by me.
Oh, wait a minute. I pay for things sometimes. Rarely.
Well, yeah, you pay me.
See? That's what
when I come out of the Bat Cave and I do the Batman thing once in a while, right?
I pay you to lose money for me. That makes total sense, but that's actually kind of true. We're not good businessmen. At least not when it comes to podcasts.
Okay, fair. I was about to give some self-deprecating humor as we often do, but no, actually, like our normal jobs, like we make a killing doing that shit. Guns is good.
Beat
booping's good.
Guns, many things is good. This shit. Anyway, so let's see. What do you got for an update? What have you been up to besides drinking creatine powder out of your white water bottle?
Well, this is beer in a koozie.
Okay.
So
strong word.
What else? No. So as you can see, I'm getting ready for the next tournament, which is next month in November. There's protein in beer. I'm ready to fight. Let's do this. No, so we do have a tournament coming up. Just things with work, right? So you guys missed me on the last episode. Well, I won't say you missed me, but I wasn't here. To be fair, Frank and Zach and Dan Brady did a really good job filling in. Just to put frame of reference, took 3 people to replace me.
Yeah.
There's something to that, right? Anyway, well, it's all the personalities. So end of quarter business, right? Day job, very busy, right? I'm kind of a big deal, kind of, at least in my world. End of quarter business stuff. I had vendors coming in for on-site meetings and all sorts of stuff. So sadly, I wasn't able to be here. I did, however, catch the Gun Scoundrels episode. You guys got to yell at me because I tuned in while I was driving home from the office that night. So just listening on my way home. And you guys did a really good job. I'm really excited to actually start coming up with some ideas for our Gun Scoundrel line of shirts. Unfortunately, those are not going to be for charity. Those are going to be for the charity of the Sling'N podcast. Because there's some really, really good material behind that content or behind that idea of the Gun Scoundrel. I really like where we're going with that. I think it's going to be a good time. I think we come up with some pretty good ideas and some pretty high quality t-shirt designs out of those ideas. So looking forward to that.
I'm recruiting people into the Gun Scoundrel culture that aren't even gun people.
What are these extra words you added to the end of cult?
I'm just saying. Dude, if I'm going to be David Koresh,
it's a cult.
Now's the time.
Yeah. David Koresh. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Now's going to be the time.
Was it the branch? The
Branch Davidians.
Not Branch. No, I know that's what I'm trying to do. Trying to do a play on words here, man. Just bear with me. I'll come up with something by the end of the show. I swear. The
trunk dividends.
The branch Gun Scoundrelians.
I like it.
I'm making shit up at this point. I swear, I've only had the half a beer so far.
So I got a day job buddy who we've been having fun naming all our customers the wrong names. That's been fucking like imagine a place called I don't know, Walmart, and you would name it, I don't know, maybe Knee-Wall Shopping Plaza or something. Like you would do like a play on words of them.
Oh, yeah. I get it. Kind of like when you walk into Burger King and you ask for the spaghetti fun basket.
The spaghetti fun basket? What the F is the spaghetti?
Okay, clearly you're not a Dane Cook fan.
No, I'm not a Cook fan.
No, he had this whole bit where he would go into a restaurant and he would order something that was not on the menu, but he would look dead serious at the menu, point at the menu and say, yeah, the spaghetti fun basket, it's right there. And the hilarity would ensue as the people who are clearly gullible as shit would be like, what are you talking about? Where? So.
I like it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Right.
But yeah, man, getting some dry fire practice in.
Gonna
honestly,
say.
pack it up. Pack it up because we got a big weekend ahead of us.
We do have a big weekend ahead of us. That's my update. Private lessons, more private lessons. Defensive pistol metrics coming up in North Carolina this coming weekend. We've got 11 seats sold. There's room for like a few more of you if anybody wants to dive in last minute. Derek Wright, let's do it. Let's go. I know you can't. You said you already couldn't, but send your friends. Hide your kids, hide your wife. We training everybody out there. It's gonna be a good time. Then I'm really actually also looking forward to defensive rifle metrics at the end of October, because I think Justin is still in here, and Justin could attest to this. Every time I teach rifle class, it fucking rains or snows or hurricanes or goddamn blizzards or earthquakes, or I have never taught a rifle class on a nice, sunny, calm, chill the fuck out day.
I'm beginning to think that me coming up with a rifle POI for you or to do with you is becoming a bad idea, like by the minute.
I've got a rifle POI. I want a military assault tactical murder course brought to you by the Ginger.
That too.
Right. Right. See, Justin's over there going, I think the rain is my fault. Dude, we literally, I'm going to say, like, I don't want to call us badasses or anything, but we taught a badass class in the pouring rain up in Pine Grove. I mean, just drenched. And, like, I was like, on the line, deck your guns. And everybody's just like, fuck those guns. And they just walked on, like, they're just so willing to just let their guns lay in the mud and the shit in the sleet. That's a good time.
Test your equipment.
That's it.
Test your equipment. But that is also a testament to the quality of the students that you attract, right?
I'm gonna tell you something. We get some people to put.
Because we never got a chance to do an AAR.
That's right.
So
that's right. But
yeah, those that don't know, what was it? Not Labor Day weekend. Would have been Memorial Weekend.
Weekend after.
Labor Day weekend.
You're switching gears. You're talking about the pistol class we did. Yeah, weekend after.
Yeah. Yeah, came up and AI'd for you up there for defensive pistol metrics. I am thoroughly impressed by the quality of the student that you attract.
Yeah, people are good shit.
I mean, you take her leave, but students, phenomenal people.
They really are. They really are. We get a lot of good work done. We have a lot of really, really, really solid humans that come out, make a lot of friends. Big Russian dudes call us king shit. I mean,
or that we have a shit palate.
My man, this king shit.
It's a location thing. You had to be there.
Yeah, you had to be there.
But yeah, no, awesome class, dude. But yeah, we're gonna have to do. I think, just to be fair, right? Let's actually do the AAR after this weekend, right? So this way we'll have 2 under our belt together, and go from there. Because I'm still, admittedly still rusty coming off the bench and whatnot. I don't want a sample size of just 1. 2 seems legit. Why not? Any self-respecting surveyor or census taker will gladly do a sample size of 2 and call that law, right? Just look at any major media political poll, right? Of the 5 people we asked in downtown New York City, Hillary Clinton will win. Hillary Clinton will win the next presidential election. Okay, bud.
Politics hurt.
Yeah. So anyway, zeroing guns. Where do we start?
Let's define what a zero is. TJ, what's a zero?
It's when you turn the dial all the way to 0.
The point at which the line of sight and the line of trajectory coincide.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah. In all seriousness, so yeah, there's it's quite simple, right? Regardless of the platform you're using, long gun, shotgun, long gun, short gun, handgun. Some might call a pistol. Regardless of the sighting system, it doesn't have to be an optic or a scope, right? A 0 is the point in which, as Ken said, that the point of aim and the trajectory of the bullet coincide.
So, something happened the other day that I'm going to start doing on kind of a regular basis. It was a rainy, shitty day. We had a match cancel, and I decided, you know what? I'm just going to text a bunch of buddies and see who's going to the range and see who wants to do what work. Buddies, predominantly students or cadre in this case, right? So Justin and Grumpy and other Grumpy ended up on the range with us, and other Grumpy. 3 Grumpies showed up on the range on Sunday. And of the 3 Grumpies that showed up, 2 of them wanted to zero guns. And
as grumpy people do.
As they do. And what ended up becoming pretty clear right off the rip was that there are still some discussions are based around 0. Like, what's the best 0? Why should I set this up this way? How should I set this up? What are my objectives with my 0? How can I achieve the best trajectory and the best use of my equipment given a 0? And questions were kind of being thrown around about well, I'd like to have all my 7.62 39 caliber guns zeroed the same way. Or, I'd like to have all my 5.56 rifles zeroed the same way. Or, hey, even Justin was talking to me about some shotgun shit. He was like, hey, did you zero the new shot? Because him and I have the same new shotgun. Did you zero the new shotgun to the slug and then pattern the buckshot? Or did you zero the dot to the buckshot and pattern the slug? It's just, we're talking zeros. And a couple things became pretty clear to me right off the rip. One is that people want hard and fast answers to the question. People want to ask the question, what should my 0 be? and they want me or you or whoever, they want their instructor, they want their internet gun information guy to spit them out an answer. And then they just want to go do that, and they want to go, Bucker zeroed, we're good. And I think by now you should realize, just in many of these contexts, that there's a lot more nuance going on than just, hey, what distance do we zero and why? So right. I thought, rather than trying to give hard and fast, like, hey, man, you know what you should do for a 5.56 rifle is you should do a 5200 zero out of a 16-inch cold hammer forged Daniel Defense barrel with an XM 193 velocity about 3,000 feet per second. That son of a bitch should be dead ass at 50 and dead ass at 200. Well, it's really 217 yards, but who here could shoot well enough to tell the difference? All right, dudes, get on the line. Does that sound familiar? That sounds
yeah.
That sounds modern.
Yeah, it sounds very familiar. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things that I absolutely hate about modern gun culture in the training industry is that people will I'm going to quote a movie here, but it's better to have an idea than a belief, right? People will kill and get into fights over a belief. You can change an idea, right? It's better to have an idea about things, right? So for those playing the home game, that would be Chris Rock in Dogma. But great movie, by the way.
Dude, your pop culture references are off the charts.
I spent a lot of time behind a computer. Matter of fact, I'm quite convinced that up until this weekend, when I show up in person, the folks at Apache believe I'm a simulation. So, whatever. That Unreal Engine 5 is bonkers. Anyway, look, sometimes the answer is, in fact, it depends. The answer that I would give somebody, if somebody were coming to me asking me for that question, or asking me that question, my answer to them would be quite simple, that your zero is going to depend from platform to platform in your expected use case for that particular platform, right? I have 2 fully functional 5.56 rifles in my gun safe right behind me. They're kind of my go-to rifles, right? I've got one with an LVPO on it, and I've got another one with a red dot. Kent, you got to see both of them when I was up last month, right? Or August. It's hard to believe it's October already. Anyway,
we committed moderate crimes with those guns that weekend.
What's that?
Nothing.
Yeah. Oh, we committed moderate crimes. Okay. I thought you said we had moderate good times with those guns. I'm like, what the hell are you trying to give people the idea that we do with these things? But my 10.5-inch barrel, right, AR pistol with a red dot on it, I zero at 50. Because my expected use case with a barrel of that short that has such a drastic impact, or I guess you'd say drastic effect with the shorter barrel length on the velocity of that gun or on that bullet, is I don't expect to engage anybody outside of 100, 150 yards with that thing. So we can get into a measuring contest, I guess literally in this case, about the variations in point of aim, point of impact, and the bullet drop out of a 10.5-inch barrel with a 50-yard zero at, let's say, 200 yards. My bottom line is I want to my standards acceptable levels of accuracy out to 200 yards, right? And I'm sorry, but at 200 yards, unless you are shooting a sniper rifle of some sort or have an equivalent precise platform, your expectations on your accuracy, right, is probably a bit misled. I'm hoping to hit torso at 200 yards with a red dot optic with a 2 MOA red dot on it. At 200 yards with a rifle. That's more than acceptable, right? Suppressing fire is a thing. Now, inside 200 yards, call it 150 and in. I'm hitting, top half of the A zone. Right? Believe it or not, I care more about left-right shift, left-right point of impact on a distant target than I do vertical impact.
Uh-huh.
Pumps and switches. Well, there's a real long motherfucking switch that goes from the back of your nugget to the bottom of or to the top of your ass crack that works as a really effective switch to keep your ass from running too far. Right? So I'll deal with vertical deviation in my point of impact. I won't tolerate left-right deviation. That isn't, of course, induced by me, right? So zero be damned if I know that that gun is built for confined spaces or close quarters, right? Inside 100 yards, inside 75 yards, then at that range where I actually expect to use it needs to be dead on where I want it to be, right? Anything inside that, I understand mechanical, mechanical offset. I'm going to be hitting high or low, whatever the distance might be inside that use case. But that's my use case. My other rifle with the LVPO, I zero at 100. And I'll be damned if I can't hit the A zone at 500 yards with that motherfucker. Right? That's the use case for that rifle. Honestly, that rifle's more for coyotes and shit, but you get the idea. So yeah, that's kind of that's the world according to TJ when it comes to a rifle zero, more specifically with a 5.56 cartridge.
Awesome. So let's talk about some things that impact why and where you might want to zero any gun. So first thing I want to talk about is your actual sighting system itself. And you brought it up, the difference between an LVPO or a red dot, or how about the difference between a red dot and iron sights on a pistol, or the difference between a gold bead on the end of an old school shotgun and my new kick-ass Holosun shit on the top of my Whiz-Bang 9000, right? So many people invest money in optics that are designed for specific applications, right? Like reticles that are set up for known BDC calculations on common cartridges, velocities, and barrel lengths. And
which will lead you to your doom.
Sure. So they'll come to you and they'll go, they've got a Vortex 1 to 10 with the JM BDC Pro on it. And by the way, if you're doing the homework on that bitch, they want you to zero that thing at 50 yards on 10 power. That's what they say in the manual for the scope. Zero me, 50 yards, 10 power, please. You'll be very happy, assuming you have one of the following barrel lengths and one of the following projectiles and cartridges that's sending, roughly these velocities. No, they're not stupid. They set their optic up for, XM193 and M855 and MK262 and really popular loads in the 5.56 variety. But
they go and throw self-defense 77 grain Hornady critical duty in that sumbitch.
Sure. Or even worse, my man buys that optic, throws it on top of his 30-30 deer rifle, and wonders why the BDC doesn't line up.
Exactly why it'll lead you to your doom.
Right. Well, I mean, the BDC is not going to line up. The bullet drop compensator wasn't designed to be used on the projectile, the barrel length, or even the fucking caliber that you're trying to use it on.
I would even argue that it almost never does, even when you are using it on the platform, the caliber, or the barrel length that you're expected to use it on.
It's a zip code, not an address.
It's addressed to whom it may concern.
Yeah, we're getting in the ballpark, but we're not as pinpoint as we need to be. So the first thing I would tell a person to consider is, hey, look, that optic, the optic that you've purchased, hopefully matches the use case for the gun. I'll give you an example. So on a gun that I have that is it's a 10-inch, 10.3-inch gun with a suppressor. It's got these guys. It's got the primary arms 1 to 8 on it with the ACSS reticle. Once you know it, that old boy Cameron was able to help me figure out that with my actual defensive loads, the 62 grain Spear Lawmans, if I zero that bitch at 100 yards, my BDC really, honest to God, no shit matches with the ACSS. Not kind of, sort of, dead ass matches. So when I was talking to the nice folks at Primary Arms, they're like, hey, we'd like to send you a scope to evaluate and whatever, and we like your podcast and your beard is nice and TJ's a good person, right? Like, they came out and they were like,
it's nice that I got the honorable mention there, Ken.
Right. They're like, hey man, what do you want from a scope? And I was like, oh, I'm gonna put it on this gun and I'll think about the reticles and stuff. Cam and I just happened to have a phone conversation that night, and he went fucking full goddamn. I was looking at this the other night. TC 322.9 on my ass and gave me the whole goddamn Army marksmanship manual spiel. And he was like, bro, that ACSS is going to match up with your designed ammo and that barrel length, especially through a suppressor. And he had the math all figured, and he was fucking right. Okay.
Right. But just real quick, so we can catch people up on why I poo-poo on BDC so much. If it weren't for a pocket sniper,
right? Yeah. No, exactly.
You could pull out and do the math on that shit.
Yeah.
We're worried about dude even reading the manual to know that it should have been at 50 yards at a 10 power thing.
Right.
You had to go phone a friend who is more qualified than either of us put together to solve that beautiful mind algebra for you.
Fuck yeah, bro. If you ain't a sniper, have a sniper. Phone a friend is always a good idea. Point being, that is a very purpose-driven tool with a specific use case that was figured out by a professional and a half, and I'm giving myself the half, right? There is no reason on planet Earth that you should expect to screw your $2,000 whiz-bang 3000 optic onto the top of your, SIG M600 and start banging away, and all of a sudden you're out there on range 9 at West Shore going, why am I not hitting steel? Bro, you just rolled up speaking Chinese on the gun and French on the optic, and your dumbass still needs a Rosetta Stone to figure out your trigger, and you're wondering what's happening. But the question you want to ask is, what should my zero be? So, hard and fast rules. The gun, the optic, and all the various enablers, all the shit that we're mounting to the guns. I don't care, pistols, rifles, shotguns, what. They should all be purpose-driven, and that purpose should also be defining and driving your zero, right?
Yep.
What's the gun for? In this case, we're talking about a 5.56 suppressed gun that defends my home and my family and my loved ones and all that. Daddy don't want to have to think so much. Daddy wants to PID and send projectiles, and now would be a really good idea because you just came to the castle and I don't want to let you across the moat, if you know what I'm saying. So I really, really, really need to be able to put that big old motherfucking ACSS reticle somewhere between your chin and your nipples, and I need to be able to send rounds like now. So for that application, in my home, in my use case, that makes a lot of sense. Meanwhile, as you start ranging targets and you realize, like, hey, over the park and over to the stop sign and down the road and across the neighbor's field and all these different places that I can still see, I could PID and range and hit a man-sized target with this tool mounted to the gun. Anywhere from, I don't know, let's say 75 exact yards out to about 182, depending on which way you look from the back porch or the front porch. It's a thing. Get your Onyx maps out and look around your house.
Yep. Range cards are an important thing.
So comparing that to, say, the zeroing application on, I don't know, Grandpa's hunting rifle, right? I'd like to introduce to you guys a term that some of y'all don't hear us talk about too much, but that term would be MPBR, max point blank range, right? So the movies have kind of fucked y'all up on the point blank range term. They talk about, the shooter murdered the victim from point blank range, right? Point blank range means like the distance at which the muzzle won't allow you to miss. Max point blank range means acceptable vertical deviation to a known MOA. For example, I've got a Ruger Gunsight Scout Rifle in 308 designed for deer hunting. I don't have a bunch of freaking, ballistic reticles and all kinds of fanciness. I've got an old school crosshair. I'd like to know what the size of a vitals in a deer are, Mr. Ramsey. Do you have any idea, top to bottom?
10
inches. Right? So I've got a 10-inch vertical.
Are we talking about a mature buck, a young buck? Like what?
Yeah. Good old fashioned 10 inches to me, right?
Yeah, 10 inches.
10 inches like that, right?
At least in my house.
That's what I'm saying. You got a 10-inch vertical spread. You want to be able to hit within a 10-inch vertical spread at the furthest distance possible with your crosshair in the center of it. You dig? So I figure out max point blank range by figuring out, based on the trajectory versus line of sight, how far my rifle is good to the crosshairs within my scientific wild ass guess of a 10-inch vertical minute of angle, MOA. So that means On that particular gun, on the Ruger gun sight gun, from 0 to 311 yards, it turns out, says the math, I could hold my motherfucking crosshair in the same spot, press the trigger, and I'm going to miss by about that much either way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Vertical spread, 10 inches. Okay. That means I don't have to do a lot of holdover math from 0 to 311. What's the chances I'm going to shoot a deer at 312 yards? Fucking 0. It's the furthest shot on a deer you've ever taken.
Not without getting on a plane?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Oh, no, shit. Honestly, furthest shot I've ever taken on a deer was 63 yards.
There you go.
63 yards, which is double the distance that I've taken a deer with a bow and arrow.
Oh, dude.
Like my longest archery kill with during deer season was at like 35, 36 yards. It was the first time I've ever been hunting. I got started late. It was right after I got out of the military. I was a defense contractor at the time. But yeah, I started as a bow hunter. Trained and trained and trained, man. I'm hitting vitals quite handily at 60, 70 yards. Like I had my pins and my sightages. I was training every single day. That's one of the things I do like about archery. You go in the backyard, you practice all day long, you're good to go, right? But I had my pins dialed into 70 yards because at one point I wanted to go elk hunting with archery tackle. And I know that a 60 to 70 yard shot on a bull elk in Colorado, New Mexico, wherever, is quite common. So I wanted to train for that distance. But yeah, I took my first deer at about 35, 36 yards with a bow and arrow. With a 308, 65 yards. So everything from 10 yards to 67 yards is the farthest I've ever engaged a animal.
Right.
An animal with modern hunting tackle.
Exactly. So you go to Sportsman's Warehouse, you buy the Ruger American 308 variant of your choice. You slap on a Nikon Pro Staff 1 to freaking 8 or 2 to or 3 to 9x4.
3 to 9. Yeah, I used to be the scope guy at the gun range I worked at. 3 to 9 Nikons are
the 3 to 9 Nikon scopes. Yeah, and you're out there and you go, what distance do I zero this to for 308? Well, depending on your MPBR calculation, your max point blank range, you might get anything from 33 yards to 50 yards to 100 yards to all kinds of different variants. Meanwhile, something that needs to be brought up is you will hear a fuck ton of shenanigans from old-timey dudes who have all their wives' tales about, oh, just zero at 3 inches high at 25, and you're good from here to the cornfield. Okay, Pat, like, you shoot that gun twice a year. Are you sure? Define good, by the way, because, like, pie plate to pie plate on the friggin' 2x4 stand is not what I'm talking about. But dudes will tell you all kinds of. I knew a guy at a gun store one time who would continuously tell his customers, inch high at 25 will sit you right. Pistol, inch high at 25. Shotgun, inch high at 25. Rifle, inch high at 25. I'm like, bro, you're gonna get wildly math and trajectory and gravity and I've killed every deer I've killed with the same zero. And I always ask the same question. I'm like, well, dude, what's the distance to your average deer kill? For me, it's usually a 67-pound suicidal doe with a note on her chest that says something like, please take me off the planet. And she's about 7 yards from me, right? Like what?
And you're going 65 miles an hour down the highway.
Oh, bro, dude. The West Shore sportsman's deer population has been severely reduced by my pickup truck alone. It's just not a good deal.
There is one thing, honestly. It says you got me talking about archery shit.
Oh God.
So no, hold on. Because I've never shown this on the podcast, but
okay, that's fucking cool.
This is the first Robin Hood shot that I've ever done.
That is cool. I would have kept that too.
I kept this one. I've actually done this 3 times.
Wait, there's 3 arrows there?
No. I've done it in 3 separate occasions. They actually say that it's bad luck to remove them or to separate them. It's bad luck.
Absolutely.
Right? However, arrows are expensive. So this was like probably $13, $15 a pair at the time. So I'm like, okay, got it. When I upgraded my tackle and I started using, arrows that were $20 a piece, you better give me that motherfucker back. I'm losing 1, I ain't losing 2. So take them apart.
Dude, I'm sorry, I'm stopping you right here. The rivalry between you and Frank is epic. You guys, this weekend is going to be phenomenal with just the 2 of you fucking with each other endlessly. What happens when you have 2 IT guys and 2 AIs that are both your buddy is that they will just fucking pee on shit. You guys can be claiming bushes and tree stumps. It's going to be a thing. I can't wait.
You think he'd be mad if I brought him a speak and spell?
Oh, Christ. Moving on, back to the topic at hand.
Fisher Price is my first computer.
So, dudes in their wives' tales and their stupid myths about zeros. Hey, if you do this, if you do that, it'll always work out. One of the things I really wish everybody would do after we give them hey, here's your data. You should go verify the data you're given. If you ask me for data on your rifle and I put it into my freaking Straylock app, or I call Cam, or whatever I do, and I go, here's your zero, bro. Let's shoot that. Let's set it up. If you're not shooting your zero at all your expected distances, you're fucking up, right? So,
right,
my pistol zero is set to an absolute max engagement of 50 and an absolute retarded engagement of 100 yards. Okay, you know what that means? That means I better be shooting my pistol sometimes at 100 yards. And if you're not, you're screwing it up. And if you're not setting actual metrics or standards for what you expect to be able to hit at that range, for me, IPSC target. If I can be banging steel at 100 yards, I'm pretty happy with that. If I'm in the world's worst gunfight in the planet of gunfight and I'm actually shooting my Glock at 100 yards, I don't know. I guess the Opaco has lipsed and we're going to have serious technical difficulties anyway. So fuck it. I'm sending rounds.
Right. Suppressing fire.
Yes, serial suppressing fire. Or like our buddy Suffer and Succotash there from 3 years ago. If we end up in the Walmart parking lot in our PCC fight, that totally happened. That for sure wasn't a complete and total fucking fabrication from all. Anyway, I'm going to design a class around a thing that absolutely happened. Okay. Okay. But if your pistol, if you're telling yourself, hey man, you're doing the Tom Gibbons grocery store walk, and you actually know the answer. What's the longest aisle in an average grocery store? 47 yards. If you cannot envision having to step around a grocery store aisle and putting a red dot on a dude and sending one, I would encourage you to rethink your life, because I guarantee you that's a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether it's a thing that's within your capabilities, your scope, or your willingness is another conversation, but it's something I want to be able to do.
Yeah, I think that goes into, and let's clarify that, right? Your use case.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the situation you might happen to find yourself. It is the situation in which you might find yourself that you will also agree to engage in that situation. There's always an option to flee, generally, right? Yeah, we talked about it on a few podcasts back, right? Having that hard conversation with yourself and your loved ones. What is the criteria that we will engage in lethal means, right?
So if it meets your rules of engagement, if it meets PID, if it's something that you're actually willing to do,
then that's your use case. That becomes
your use case, right? So Frank's talking about, hey man, my gun, my carry ammo. Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Your wife is texting me dad jokes while we are on the podcast. I don't know, Charlie. Why don't roosters wear underwear? Here, we're going to find the answer together, everybody. Why? Good Lord. That meets your use case, right? So within that use case is a whole shitload of potential point of aim and point of impact variances that you should probably figure out before you attempt to engage on that use case. So, hey, man, I'm a firearms student. I own a I don't know, a Walther subcompact. I own a Glock 48. I own a Springfield XD9, whatever the fuck. I spend most of my time carrying in a Filster Enigma, and my biggest concern is physical or sexual violence, rape, robbery, murder, stabbings. Everybody else's problem is not my problem. I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to get involved unless it saves my life. I ain't in it. All right, sir, ma'am, you should be shooting your gun at 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, 25 yards. And you should have a very squared away understanding, point of aim, point of impacts differentials, and a very squared away understanding of your own capabilities to hit within those differentials. And that's the answer, right? That's my fucking defensive pistol metrics curriculum for a pistol. Now take that, apply it to your rifle, apply it to your shotgun. It's the same set of thoughts. So, Mr. Deer Hunter, your goal is to hit a 10-inch vertical A zone from 0 to 300 yards. If you don't take your ass a B8 target and put one at freaking 20, one at 40, one at 60, one at 80, one at 100, you get the idea. Step them bad boys out.
It goes to knowing your equipment and trust but verification.
Yep.
Even if you followed it to the letter, right? You called the pocket sniper, right? Or you opened your pocket, pulled out the sniper, said, "Hey, dude, help me figure this out." Y'all beeps and boops and does some beautiful mind shit on the walls, right? You still probably took your target, pasted your ass a target up there and confirmed it, right? That's why snipers keep what's called a dope book, data on previous engagements. Even they don't trust the math enough to not prove it and keep a logbook of all the shit that they've actually done to know that there are variations and deviations in the equipment, the barometric pressure, the atmosphere, all that other shit, to be certain of the shot that they're taking.
So for defensive rifle,
to keep a log, but you get the idea.
So for defensive rifle metrics, for most of the guys that come out with the 5.56 gun, and for most of the loads, most of the time, the 50-yard zero makes good sense. We zero guys and gals on a freaking 7/8 paster at 50 yards, right? And then we shoot a vertical deviation drill where all they do is they hold on that paster every time. And we take the targets and bring them closer or further from the shooter so that till they're done, from 0 to whatever the max distance is on that range for that day, what they shoot and mark is they shoot a 0, and then they shoot a closer and further, and they go 0 at 50, then here's 40 yards, here's 30 yards, here's 20 yards, here's 15 yards, here's 10, here's 5, and then they go out past it 100. And they have, tell everybody, hey, grab your cell phone, snap a picture of that. There's your dope on your rifle 0 from 0 to 100 yards. That's where the shit that you zeroed for today in these conditions is going to hit. Now, students are surprised that with variances in loads and trajectories and ammunition types and everything else, some dudes shoot that whole drill and they do no shit. They've got like a little, 3-inch freaking spread, top to bottom, basically within the optical offset from the offset of the scope or the dot to the barrel. Pretty good. Some dudes shoot that thing and they do no shit. They've got a solid 10-incher, and they're like, okay, that's something I need to know. If you can't visualize what your holds and offsets are, then you've kind of left yourself hanging a little bit in terms of actual use case. Because you bet your ass when you do have to shoot somebody, it's not going to be at your 0 distance. That motherfucker in the supermarket is not going to take 3 steps back to the 50-yard line and let you schwack him. That's not going to be how it goes.
This would be a much more different podcast if that did happen.
Right?
We can't call like a timeout. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah. I'm going to respawn.
You're supposed to say go. You're supposed to say 1, 2, 3, go in karate.
Oh my God. The produce section is lava. The produce section is lava. Anyway. Yeah. So you end up in a spot where now we have dope, data on personal equipment or data on previous engagements, depending on how militaristic you want to sound. Now you should go and you should apply your dope to real shooting scenarios, such as go to a 35-yard berm, throw up. The fuck was that? Is there a ghost? I was terrified.
No, it's my cat. Keep talking.
Holy shit. I thought there was an exorcism happening.
Uh,
Go to a 35-yard berm. Throw up a freaking I don't know. Throw up a clay bird and run a ready up drill on a clay bird and tell me where you need to hold your reticle to hit the clay bird at 35 yards. It might be dead ass on, it might not be. But that's something you should know after doing the ballistic math and zeroing your personal equipment. So the dudes in the chat are egging me on. Hey, Gunset, how is you? Scotty's here. Loved it. I'm going to tell you right now, dudes are in here talking about the 10-yard versus 25-yard pistol zero. We need Scott and Tim. We need Jedi and Heron. But instead, we have Howard and Ramsey, so that'll have to do. I'm going to tell you what I think about the 10-yard versus the 25-yard pistol zero.
It doesn't matter.
Barely matters. A little bit. I'll tell you.
We might differ on this one, but I would submit that it only matters to the extent that you have a known zero.
Sure, I'll give you that. It also only matters to the extent, this is going to sound like a dickheaded statement, but it's the truth. It only matters to the extent that you can shoot your gun to the level of precision that it was machined to be shot to in the first place. So,
okay, fair.
So if you got dudes who are shooting, your average kick-ass Glock is shooting a, about 2 MOA or so in all reality. If you got dudes who are shooting 6 or 8 MOA on a Glock and they're arguing about 10 versus 25-yard zeros, I would say that those folks have more to be worried about than the 10 versus 25-yard zero.
Yeah, absolutely.
That being said, if you're wearing out the paster at 10 yards and Justin will confess to this one, like wearing out the paster at 10 yards does not mean top left of paster, bottom right of paster, middle of paster. It means wearing out the paster at 10 yards because a little variance will start to show its ugly head at 25. If you have a tendency to push a little high and a little left on the pistol at 10, you bet your ass your upper left 9 ring at 25 a lot of the time, right? So guys get into these holdovers and hold unders and they talk about trajectory on pistols. And, if you have a 10-yard zero, I want you to hold slightly low on the B8. And yeah, that's very true. Define slightly low for me, please, Mr. Instructor. I'm talking slightly low. I'm talking not quite a whole inch low is what I want you to hold at 25 yards. Not bottom of 9 ring equals X ring. That's not what we're talking about. That's a different thing, right? So when dudes start talking about pistol zeros, a couple things need to come into play. Number one, some of the most precise pistol optics are just about matching, if not slightly more precise than the capability of the tool that they're being fired from. A stock Glock is going to be shooting about 4 MOA off the factory rack. If you've got a 1 MOA SRO on a bone stock Glock, like not a better barrel, not a better anything, I'll tell you what, you might have a 1 MOA optic, but you still have a 5 MOA system. Keep in mind that math is aggregate. It adds upon itself, right? So if the gun's a 5 MOA gun and you're an 8 MOA shooter and you have a 1 MOA dot, congratulations, you are a 13 MOA system. You catch my drift?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best number wins. It's not, well, hey, I'm an 8 MOA shooter, so that's what I'll shoot. Oh, no, dude. If you're an 8 MOA shooter and you've got a 2 MOA dot and a 4 MOA gun, those things compound upon themselves, right? So now really the total system capability and any variance that you could expect is about 11 MOA. Minute of angle, 1 inch at 100 yards, 11 MOA gets us down to about a freaking 2.5 inch group at 25 yards, if we're lucky, right? So as we start running these numbers, we start to ask ourselves, what is this pistol for? Why do I have this pistol? Here, perfect example. Why do I have this pistol? Glock 48, right? Guess what, dudes? My Glock 48 has a 6 MOA dot on it. Okay? It's a freaking Glock 48. It's a riddle gun. I wore it to work out just a little bit ago. Not a big honking motherfucking Glock 34. It's a little fella. I'm out shooting the MOA capabilities of this gun. That's not braggadocious, by the way. I'm not bragging on 6 MOA. I'm holding a 98, 99 B8 at 25 yards, shooting about a 3-inch group. That's not so bad. See my point? The things compound upon each other. So what folks need to realize is, what is the expected target size and trajectory on a human animal? What are we trying to hit? We're not trying to hit an 11-inch tall by freaking 5.5-inch wide A zone. We're damn sure not trying to hit a freaking 8-inch piece of box in the middle of an IDPA target. We're trying to hit something the size of my fist, right? If you look at the diagram I put up on the Instagrams a while ago of the heart and the fist, then you look at the deer heart, the human heart, and the human fist, you realize you're trying to shoot for something the size of a fist or something the size of a credit card. Ocular cavity or a fist. That's what I'm trying to hit with a handgun. Am I guaranteed all the time hitting it? No. TJ was talking about timers and switches. There's 3 ways we stop a human animal. We stop them through pain-inflicted response, we stop them through physiological response, or we stop them through psychological response. Ask, tell, make. Please don't do that. Don't do that. Bang, motherfucker, I told you shouldn't have done that, right? Therefore, we are hoping for a physiological stop. We want this animal to stop, and we want them to stop right the goddamn hell fucking now, which means I need to put rounds in the heart or I need to put rounds in the ocular cavity. Therefore, I want you to tell me where you have a reasonable chance of putting rounds in those 2 spots on the person with your known equipment and your known pistol zero. If for you want to argue with me and you want to tell me that you're going to go out and you're going to zero your 147 grain HSTs to a 17.3750, homie, I gives a fuck. Are you ready? Stand by, beep, put it where I want it. Now, if you can do that with reasonable efficiency and reasonable regularity, your zero really doesn't matter as long as you understand how it has any kind of an impact upon what you're shooting. I personally don't want to be fucking around with holds on a pistol zero. I want to place dot, press shot, right? So for me, I'm not super into a zero that's going to involve a huge optical offset. The days of red dots sitting freaking way above the bore line are about over, right? We're getting to the point now where guys are milling these dots to where the actual offset between the barrel and the dot is fractions of inches. So right. Sure, man. If you're up close, like close, you're at like 3 yards and you're trying to hit a paster, I need you to hold partial dot above the paster and press the trigger, and you should expect to hit. If we're starting to talk like rifle offset on pistol red dots, I'm out of the game. So if your zero puts you in that place, nah, not a really good idea. Other than that, what I would say is that oftentimes I hear guys making the argument of, shoot it 0 at 10 and confirm at 25. That sounds a lot to me like just 0 at 25 in the first place. And then the other thing I hear a lot is guys zeroing, especially these days, man, with the pistol ammo the way it is, and you can't get a hold of shit. Hey, man, what's your zero? And they're like, oh, I shoot a 10 or I shoot a 25. I'm like, all right, great. Like, but what? Like, for what? What do you mean? I'm like, well, my zero is for 3.2 grains of tight group under 147 grain projectile. What's yours for? Mine's for ammo. Like, okay, well, welcome to not exacting results when it comes to shifting grain weights and ammo manufacturers and everything else, right? So dudes want to come out and they want to talk about zeroing the guns, and they fuck around and spend all afternoon zero into a random ammo spec, and then they want to gas their heater up with the newest, latest, and greatest. There we go, man. Frank's right on cue. Zero with that 147 grain gold dot shit. Zero with the 147 HST. Zero with the 142 grain whatever that shit is that you're actually stoking up the carry gun for. That needs to be what it's zeroed to, not the stuff you could pull out of the box on your way to the range. So
or that you could reload, right?
Right. In my case, and I do believe in Frank's case, this might even be Frank's fault. I can't remember who I talked about it with. But my 147 grain reloads shoot real fucking close to my 147 grain HSTs, to the point where I zero with 147 HST, and then I teach and train and compete with 147, purple bullets of death or whatever the hell they're called.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I do too, right? I will whatever my carry, and this is a luxury that's afforded for people that roll their own, right? Regardless of your preferred defensive load, and we're not going to get into the pissing contest that is gold dot versus X versus Y versus Z for self-defense ammo. But if I'm carrying a 147 grain hollow point for social work, when I reload, I'm going to intentionally try to find 147 grain bullets, identify and understand what the velocity is from my defensive load, and try to load to match that velocity. Yep. Right? Because then at least you're not too far off from your social work 0 versus your range and training 0, right? There's going to be a deviation, but it's important, right? Like, these things matter. You don't want to be sitting there fucking around wondering, oh, why did I go from a laser gun to patterning my 9mm, right? Yep. Because you're going from, you're loaded for 147 or you're zeroed for 147 grain, and then you start shooting 115 grain Winchester white box.
Then again, this is not an excuse, because there's some dude right now who's like, see, that's why I'm shooting a 78 B8. Like, nah, bro, you're shooting a 78. You're shooting a 78 B8 because you're treating the trigger like your high school prom date. Like, chill on that shit. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about actual repetitive variances to the point where, like, hey, man, I'm hitting high X ring with my carry ammo and low left X ring with my training ammo. Cool. At 25. Not, hey, man, I'm hitting high X ring with my carry ammo and I'm hitting Pennsylvania with my training ammo. Like, it's different. We're not having the same conversation at that point.
Right.
We're shooting this weekend. I'm bringing, oh, God, you want to talk trash on a company? We haven't done that in a while. I really try actually not to. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm going to try one more phone call, but there's a
wait till that phone call gets done, motherfucker.
There's an ammo manufacturer who matches their name to an airport code in California. And they're not good. Things are not good. And still, with the stuff like I've got, I don't know what it is, this one poor soul who's running one of my Glock 34 loaner guns. That poor individual was like, bang, 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 click. Bang, 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 click. Bang, click, bang, click, 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 bang. I'm like, God damn, this stuff sucks. I'm walking around West Shore picking up like.
I was beginning to think your gun was fucked up, dude.
No, dude. Until I ran it through my other gun. And
I'm like, do you have a broken? Like, is there a broken striker here that we're not aware of?
No.
Is it holding on to a wing and a prayer?
No. No.
Well, that's the fun part, right? Because, like, speaking of which, I just got my Glock 48 all mounted up. Right. Somewhat twinsies. Touch tips. Yep.
Yeah. There you
go. Demonetized. But I haven't had a chance to zero this yet. I really wanted to get out to the range and zero, but I haven't had a chance, and I'm leaving Friday morning. Right. So we're going to get to go through and zero this bad boy.
Yeah.
Now, I do have it slaved off the sights for right now, just to kind of get it like a bore sight 0. But it was way off. Whatever. Because he didn't, the guy that machined it for me, he didn't zero it or anything like that. I just wanted to throw the optic on there and call it good. But
yeah,
need to zero.
So here's my point, though. Even on the LAX garbage ammo, there goes our sponsorship. Sorry, fellas, I can't do it. It ain't happening. It wasn't going to happen after watching that class go through. Even with that shit-ass ammo, I'm still holding the 97, 98 B8, right? So let's not use ammo as an excuse to that degree. But at the same time, you should probably be matching your work shit to your real shit. If I had time between now and this weekend, I would be rolling some.
I think that actually does speak to some credibility, right? Let's not consider the failures to fire, right, or the misfires of the dud rounds or whatever, right, with poor quality for the ones that do work, right?
That's kind of like saying, listen. I know all terrorists are bad people, but some of them. A few of them blow up things.
What I'm saying is that the consistency we had consistency, right?
Yeah, consistently didn't fucking run.
But what I'm saying is, from the precision of the ammo that did fire, we weren't seeing a pattern here, right?
That's true.
The quality in the point of aim to point of impact speaks to the quality of the reloaded ammunition, right? I have misfires all the time. That's also because I load rifle primers into my pistol rounds. But
oh yeah, that's a whole other conversation. I like doing that.
It works.
It does work.
If it's stupid and it works, it ain't stupid.
You need a hammer fired Beretta for that shit, but that's a whole other thing. So,
well, no, and honestly, the only gun, just to be clear, the only gun I've ever had problems with it in is my 34 that has
that I talked it up with my shenanigans. I know.
Right. All my 19s, my 48, my 43, literally every other handgun I own that runs 9mm shoots it fine. But if you've got a lighter striker spring in your striker fired gun, I will say, you guys, you and our good friends at Apache steered me in the right direction. We got one of those new channel liners for the striker channel, and the reliability skyrocketed.
Oh yeah, I swear to God, Frank and I have found the way. Look at Frank's fucking smiling and shit. We found the way on the Glock, dude. We can make a Glock run like, I don't know, but I love it. I don't have a good analogy right off the top of my head, but I love the way that those Glock 34s of mine, dude. I'm telling you something. If you had to like take away all the things and leave me with one thing, I'd be like, bye, give me my G34. I'll be all right. And heck, mine, the one I'm loaning to one student pretty often right now is moderately still kind of sort of newish. Mine is ragged the fuck out, bro. That training gun now has in excess of 6 figures on it. Just
I believe it.
Beat to snot.
Yeah, it's kind of like Pappy's old like 90 F91 F150.
Exactly.
The only thing holding it together is the rust and a prayer.
And enough Bondo to change the stock price. Like,
right.
I said that today about something else. Enough Bondo to change the stock price.
It still works. It still works though. I will say we need to have an intervention.
What?
I got my hand. I found a regularly stocked staccato dealer.
I don't want to have this conversation. I do not want to have this conversation.
Like, do we really have to have the G34 as our go-to? Do we really?
I'm telling you right now, I'm in maybe 10 years from now when I've worn out all the springs and all the magazines and all the barrels, I'll consider a new thing. But that's it. You understand? Like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but that's a thing for you that's like a $5,000 investment. And for me, that's a $30,000 investment because that's 4 or 5 guns and how many mags and how many springs and how many fucking. That's a mess, dude.
But they're only going for like $2,000.
Yes, the guns and then the support equipment and then the dots and the fucking
No, dude, you see how long I held on to Abraham Lincoln Surefire?
That is true. You had the world's oldest Surefire. That is not a lie.
I still have it. As a matter of fact, I'm bringing it with me to the.
Oh fuck. No, that is not a lie. But seriously though, like the IRS just hired a bunch of extra tax people. Like, I really don't need to be having the write-off conversation. And fuckers again. 2017 was a rough year. I ain't doing it again. We ain't playing that game. It's bad enough when you're writing checks that are like, when you used to be writing, like the check that you used to be like, oh, this is like I'm buying a used car. You're now sending to the government every year. Just fucking isn't happening. So if I turn around and do all that and try to call it a write-off, nah, that's not going to be a thing. But I will say this. I would like one of them as my personal carry gun. I would enjoy that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but then it's the fucking like, oh, hey, Mr.
Then you'll have 2 G34s that you can use for training. Or 4 G34s to use for training.
There we go. Yeah.
And you can carry your staccato and be a baller. I'm just saying.
Right. So then I roll into the range. And in front of the students, I go, all right, guys. I put away my cool guy shit. And I go, I'm going to slum it with the rest of you for the weekend. And I host. That's such a dick move. I'm not into that. That's not the thing.
It's a humble brag.
No, I'm not into the humble brag. I'm into the reverse of the humble brag. I'm into the grandiose self-deprecation. The humble brag isn't a thing. All right, we got one more gun to talk about, Zero. We got to talk about shotguns. Okay?
Well, that's simple. You just point in a general direction and it solves your problems, right? That's what that nice old man behind the gun counter told me.
The nice old man who is the president right now said, well, all we need is a double barrel shotgun. We shoot one round in the air and one round at corn pop.
That's some of the dumbest shit I've ever heard. You at least have to have a pump shotgun to scare them away when you rack it.
My brain, it's like a frozen slushy headache. All right, so first thing about the shotgun is we need to have the serving size versus capacity conversation. So when we talk about shotgun capacity, we don't talk about capacity and how many rounds does the gun hold. We actually talk about serving sizes, because your average 9-pellet double-aught buck, federal flight control, whatever you might be running, that bitch has 9 .38 caliber projectiles in it. Let me say that again. The one deliverable round to the high center chest of the asshole is about the equivalent of 9 of your relatives lining up with a 38 special and schwacking him in the same spot at the same time. Yes, it is. Do the math.
9. No, I'm just trying to envision an asshole with a chest cavity.
Yeah. Which nine of your relatives would you be lining up to do that with?
Matt Greening couldn't draw that one. Jesus.
All right. So Charlie's answer: why don't roosters wear underwear? Because the pecker is on their face. That's your wife, bro. I can't help you. My wife's upstairs, parenting and shit. Yours is talking about roosters, peckers. Oh God!
My kids are in bed.
Yeah. So the shot.
I am curious about this. Is a conversation we haven't had in a while.
I know. So
actually, I don't think we've ever really dug into this one.
We've never done another show, so I'm gonna do it right now for you. So Mossberg 940 Pro Tactical Super Blaster 5000 is the gun we're talking about. I forget Mossberg's name for it. 940 Pro Tac with a modified choke, because it comes chokeable from Mossberg, and Fiocchi 9-pellet buckshot, believe it or not flight control, Fiocchi 9-pellet buckshot versus Remington. What do you call it? The old the Remington single barrel slug, the old freaking lead Remington slug. So slug select drill is the green slug on the top of the carrier. All the buckshot drill is coming out of the bottom of the carrier on the Aridus QDC. So that fucking gun right now is holding a tight enough pattern to keep rounds in the A zone on the head box, not the A zone on the chest box, the A zone on the head box of a typical IDPA target out to 20 yards. That's lightning tight for a shotgun with buckshot.
Yeah, I almost don't believe it.
Okay, well, we're making a video, so here it comes. It'll be out here a little while once Justin gets his figured out. And watch, Justin's won't do that, or will do that different with something else or whatever. But we're not getting 9-pellet flyers. We're not getting craziness. Now, that's 20 yards. You want to see it at 25 yards? Fucking retarded.
I would say probably opens up like a barn door.
Bang! Crazy pants. Doesn't make any sense. But out to 20, headshot all day long. Great. Out to 20 with slugs? 4-inch groups. Okay. Is that a usable defensive tool for Kent? Yup. Why? What's Kent shotgun for? Well, if the 5.56 suppressed whiz-bang 9000 is for me to wage the holy war to keep the zombies on the other side of the moat at my house, the shotgun is Sophia's "you should not have opened this bedroom door" gun. Well, guess what? I'm really, really, really happy with taking parts of his face and putting them on the refrigerator for his bad life choices from the inside of the hallway, which means, yup, perfectly serviceable tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, how do we show up to this conclusion? What do we do? So the question I was asked this weekend was, hey man, did you zero that thing by zeroing the slug first and then making the pattern by making the pattern match? or did you pattern the buckshot first and then make the slugs match? Well, here's the deal, man. I care way more about buckshot on a defensive shotgun than I do about slugs.
Yes.
Okay. What's the chances of a slug select drill? What is a slug select drill? A slug select drill is, for some reason, I need to reach out past my known patternable distance and hit somebody with this gun in my hand. So I have to sacrifice the round that is in the chamber right now. I have to slug select, feed, fight, go. And I have to fucking make a really, 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 really precise shot at distance with a pretty imprecise instrument, all things considered. That's a bad day, right?
That's where I asked the question, right? Knowing that circumstance in which the slug selection becomes mandatory, if we can agree that presumably that would be the only time you would intentionally run a slug.
Yep.
Are you still zeroing to the slug because you need your optic to reach out that far?
No, sir. I'm zeroing to the center of the pattern on buckshot, and I'm living with the closest slug I can get.
Okay.
Because I absolutely, and this is the part, by the way, where like y'all playing the home game. This is where him and I are like actually having a conversation that we've never had before right now. Here's the deal. Sophie is most likely to reach for that gun in the bedroom. She will be defending my kid, and it will be with buckshot. I want the center of that pattern to be in the center of that dot, and I don't want her to have to think about it. The scenario where she's running a slug select drill in and around the house, fucking super minute, right?
Yeah, but and see that's kind of where my logic is interfering. I don't disagree with you. Let me be clear. I'm not disagreeing with you. But at that range, given those other circumstances where common usage would be the commonality, right? Why would you worry about the dot placement? Why wouldn't you go off of proprioceptive index or alternative sighting solutions, right?
Right. Who's the gun for?
Her.
Right. I mean, proprioceptive index and ghost ring shooting and all that stuff is not something I want to be teaching to somebody whose primary function is to protect the little human, right? That's a higher order skill than what I want to be worried about. And by the way, this has nothing to do with fucking gender or spousal or anything like that. Like, if I'm worried about James, I am not going to be thinking proprioceptive index when I'm shooting. I'm going to put the red thing on the thing and press the thing. Like, I'm not going to be thinking through it that much. The ideal of the shotgun pattern is that it's so tight that I can still make really precise headshots and things like that with it if I need to. The downside of that is I'm really only throwing a projectile that's about the size of a big golf ball or a small tennis ball, which means I can still throw parts of that pattern off at close distance if I am, I hate the term, but point shooting or proprioceptive shooting or ghost ringing or anything like that, right? Now, what's in your head, and I could tell by the fucking fire in your eyes, is the thought of her shooting a dude off of her within like touch distance. That's a little different. We're not.
I'm even thinking. No, I'm actually running through it in my head.
Yeah.
I've been in your house, right? I'm thinking from, furthest known distance if she's barricaded in the bedroom.
Yep.
Right. End of that hallway to your garage door, or the door that leads from your garage into your house.
Yep.
Right. Is what 15 yards, if that?
12 and a half.
Okay. Not bad for memory, right?
Yep.
So 15 yards. Yeah, man, I'm ghost ringing it.
Sure. Not with that tight a pattern and not with that little practice, you're not.
Fair. I have a bit more practice in that regard.
Right. I would too, right? I'll proprioceptively shoot my rifle or my pistol at that distance.
Right.
And like, this isn't like her capability or whatever. Think about this. There's a good chance I'm going to have to shoot that shotgun without my glasses on.
Yeah, that's true. You are blind as a fucking bat.
I mean, bro, that's a real consideration for me. I gotta be, whatever I'm ripping out of the rack, I gotta be able to take 2 steps and use it with no glasses on.
Right. I would at least think, I'd be curious. What red dot do you have on that shotgun?
Hollow Sun 507.
And that's got the dual reticle, right? That's got the circle dot too.
Right.
I'd be curious what you're able to do with that gun with the circle on it.
I'm not able to do shit with it because of my eye condition in my left eye. That circle looks like ass.
Okay, what about her though?
Haven't tried it yet. Yeah, well, maybe.
We've arrived. She lives with a goddamn firearms instructor.
Right, but she doesn't train with me. She trains with her. I don't touch it. I have no idea.
Oh well, fuck. So she'll just curse him to death.
She'll fucking put out a cigar in their face.
Right.
Yeah. No, but in all seriousness though, like I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. For me, as simple as possible. Mount, dot, press. Right.
No, look, that is an absolute fair baseline, right? Because we are overthinking the what ifs, right? As guys often do when we're mansplaining to each other. But the reality is, all of the fine motor skills that are required to do that. And while we're talking about ghost rings, shooting through the window, like the window of the optic as your sighting system, right? All the fine motor skills and the thought processes that go into making stuff like that happen effectively go out the window in a stressful situation.
That's where I'm at. Mount, dot, press.
Right.
So to me, mount, dot, press inside the house, we're good. Buckshot works great. I can get decent, reasonable accuracy out of slugs at 50 yards. If I'm doing a slug select drill past 50 yards, fuck, right? Like what? Again, we run into danger mixing the applications for the training paradigm and the tool. You know who needs to do slug select drills? Cops.
Yes.
You know why cops need to do slug select drills? Because those motherfuckers might actually have to shoot an individual in a real dirty backstop with the one tool that they brought out of the trunk of the car. This ain't Call of Duty. You can't just hit Y and switch from your shotgun to your rifle. It don't work that way. So if Officer Smith bails out of the patrol unit and grabs the Mossy and starts moving into the scene, and next thing he knows, Mr. Perpetrator fucking bails out around some buildings, and now he's in amongst a couple of people at a freaking convenience store. If Officer Smith has any training whatsoever on his way into the convenience store, he's pulling a slug select so that when he pies the corner into the dark L shape, he fucking sends one into the fucking guy's chest, and it's a slug, not buckshot, and hopefully it doesn't burn through him and the next 11 people behind him. Right. So that's a whole different context, right? Than Kent, Soph, and James stay out of the bedroom. Like, and that's where the zeroing contextual discussion really kind of comes into play, right? You know, so when we start talking, well, yeah, Justin, man, like, good on you for coming on here and admitting that, right? I'm seriously undertrained on shotguns as compared to pistols and rifles. That's my point on a contextual application. What's the shotgun for? The shotgun is I'm ending this fight right now. I need pieces of asshole on the ground. I need this dude to exsanguinate, like all the blood pressure goes to zero. This needs to be over. I need it to be over right now. That's the deal. In the law enforcement world, what's the shotgun for? The shotgun has numerous applications. It might be a less lethal delivery tool. It might be for beanbags. It might be for freaking rubber buckshot. It might be for rubber slugs. It might be for buckshot, and it might be for slugs.
It might be a breaching tool.
Right. So now all of a sudden we've got the same wrapper on the Makita drill set, but we're using that Makita drill set for a whole different job. And now we're arguing about why we should set the Makita drill set up a certain way. And it's a whole different game. Officer friendly, hopefully officer friendly doesn't have freaking, less lethal mixed with lethal shit. That's a real bad life choice. But,
I don't believe, like, policy wise, I think it's been pretty widely adopted that law enforcement that does have shotguns will have one explicitly.
Super orange, super blue, super yellow.
Yep.
Yeah, all the things. I'm with you. That being said, though, like my shotgun needs to change. As a matter of fact, I have defended my home with a shotgun. It was against a bear, but it was with a shotgun, right? I shot a bear off my back porch with a shotgun in Vermont with less lethal, Mr. Game Warden, right? But it was a thing that needed done. That's a different tool. That's a whole different setup. I set that shotgun up specifically knowing that those fucking bears in the goddamn bear protected zone in Killington were eventually going to find out that there was a bunch of dumpsters down the road, and they were going to come a snuffling. And sure enough, they come a snuffling right through my property. The next thing my golden retriever Karma's having an argument with a bear on the back porch. The elevated back porch, by the way, this some bitch had climbed like 15 feet. So there's a bear between my living room and my screen door and my golden retriever. I had seen this coming, so I was able to go kerthwump. And his ass went, woo, and fucking bared off the back porch, and that was the end of it. That's a different application. Can I be honest with you? That shotgun wasn't zeroed. I have no idea. I put the bead on the button and pressed the trigger, dude. Poor Yogi got an ass full. Different strokes, different folks, different zeros. All these things are a different setup. So for me,
yeah. I mean, I've
zeroed that way.
I've got a couple of shotguns. I know it's interesting though the way those work too. Like the my home shotgun is an old. As a matter of fact, it still has like Dothan PD on it because it was a $225 police trade-in 870 pump. Works fine. Does everything I need it to do. Shoots really well. Shoots true. I haven't bothered to pattern that thing yet. That being said, I don't have gross distances in my house, right?
Yeah,
being on bad guy pull trigger, right? That being said, though, I can tell you that the shotgun that my dad gave me, which is an old Mossberg 500 Country Squire, which is a really it's a real fancy, pretty Mossberg 500 with like pheasants on it and shit. I can hit a coffee can at 75 yards with the front bead sight and slugs.
Hell yeah. That's a field grade hunting gun, son.
But it's hitting a coffee can, not the big some bitch, standard size coffee can, set up vertically, 50 yards, front bead on target, bang, hole in coffee can. That's pretty damn good with, some generic ass, Remington slug ammo. We're not talking like anything high dollar, fancy federal or whatever have you. Walmart special Remington slugs. Shoots like a laser beam.
I like it.
I do. I will say this though. I do miss my 930. I used to run a 930.
So I was just gonna ask you, actually, since we're talking zeroing shotgun specifically, and you were the 3-gun guy of us.
Mm-hmm.
We should have conversations about my 3-gun matches sometime on the show. That's a whole nother conversation. But did you have optics on any of your 3-gun shotguns?
No.
Nothing. Not a one.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. You got to remember too, when I was shooting 3-gun, like the whole Aridus Industries with the red dot mount, like you had to go through some pretty great lengths. Like you're mounting the factory or like an off-the-shelf Weaver pick rail on top of your shotgun. Like there wasn't like purpose-built shotgun sighting systems, right?
Maybe
you take something that's good quality like Aridus Industries like they have out today. We're talking a different story. Now, there were guys that ran red dots on their shotguns. They went through the trouble to have them machined and tapped and all that other stuff because a lot of them weren't. My 930 was tapped, but I never put a red dot on it. But I can tell you 25, 30 yards slug for the few stages that I've run that have had a slug requirement, I'm hitting A zone. Right? But that was always a contentious thing. There is not a more contentious discussion in 3-gun than dealing with shotguns. Like I have seen dudes literally remove the barrel from their shotgun and beat them against a tree to get an arc in it to try to zero it for a slug round. Right? They know that slugs hit it, they're impacting left consistently. They'll take that thing out, beat it against a tree till that bitch bends right just a little bit and send it.
Fucking, you sound just like Jim. Bent barrel Kalashnikov.
It worked.
Trailer.
But then again, we're not defending the homeland with it. We're shooting paper targets for funsies.
Speaking of which, there's still a conflict in Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. That's still a thing.
Yeah.
Dudes are still fucking doing some work was some goddamn pot metal nonsense. Niet rifle was fine. AKs up in that piece. Like Wolverines is a thing. Oh, that brings up a good question. We didn't even fucking have this conversation. What about an AK-0?
Niet rifle is broken.
Niet rifle is broken. No 0 AK. AK no function. No, but seriously.
No, that's one of my issues with an AK, right? Is that at least while they're getting, like you make the joke about pot metal, I would argue that the AK-47s over there are far superior in their build quality and consistency there than here. I've said it on the podcast before. The only reason that I choose an AR-15 is because it's the most prolific rifle system in the United States, arguably this continent, right? I go anywhere outside of this continent, maybe even down Mexico too as well, but going down to Mexico, anywhere outside this continent, I'm picking up an AK-47.
I think Mexico's still in this continent.
Well, yeah, but outside of, within the confines of the continent, the only deviation, like if I went up to Canada, AR-15s are still prevalent, right? It's funny when you turn off your camera to chortle, and it's still my face.
God damn it. That's not.
But like Mexico and South, and then anywhere outside, the U.S. and Canada, I'm going AK. They are better quality than the crap that we have here. And yeah, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that they are better made. I'm just saying their consistency is better. I can go buy 5 AK-47s and they are wildly different here in the United States from different manufacturers. I can buy 10 AKs from 10 different manufacturers, or 10 ARs from 10 different manufacturers, and generally end up with the exact same results, AR to AR, depending, barrel length and all that, all things being equal, right? AK-47s are such a wild card choice over here, unless you're going to spend $2,000 plus from quality builds like Rifle Dynamics, whatever the hell Brandon Herrera's. Yeah, whatever the hell.
4 AK.
Yeah, but whatever the hell Brandon Herrera's his company, right? But yeah, like AK-0s, at least, and even with iron sights, it's doable. But that's the one thing that I would absolutely put make sure that an optic went on. And even then, I'd have to make sure that the furniture was all good to go, because the mounting platform for the red dot on an AK, also a mixed bag. So, all right. So Frank says, I'm wrong. I need to shoot more ARs. I've shot plenty. I can tell you that the build quality and the consistency is going to be pretty similar. Pretty similar. I'm not saying that they don't have their faults, of course, right? There's going to be deviations. There's going to be differences. But there are such wildly different the standard deviation from AK to AK in the U.S. is vastly different than the standard deviation from AR to AR.
I would agree with that. I just
more specifically if you get them at the same price point, right? So let's be clear, that $700 slicked out M&P 15 versus, let's say a $1,500 high end rifle. Like if I got a Daniel Defense, Cobalt Kinetics, like the higher dollar for dollar, right? All things being equal, it's going to be the same. With AKs, you're going to pay the same price across the board, generally speaking, without the boutique AKs, like from Jim Fuller and all those guys, right? If I spent $700 on every AK-47, the standard deviation is going to be out the minute of barn. I put no faith and trust in those things.
Charlie's second joke of the evening. What do tofu and dildos have in common?
Vegan men need both to please women.
Oh, nice. They're both meat substitutes. All right, Charlie, you better stop talking trash on the podcast, or you're going to get your own segment, Charlie's joke of the show. I like this. This is going great.
I don't like this.
Dude, I cannot wait until the girls someday do their own episode of the show and just roast us. Endless.
I'm going to be heavily intoxicated.
If you would like to see Sophia and Charlie do a fucking show where they just kind of like, remember when Apache took over and stole the show literally and we had no access and Frank out-hackered you and literally stole the show? I remember it that way. That's exactly what happened. It'll be like that, but the girls, and it'll just be just a mess.
This is sounding worse and worse the more you're selling it.
All credibility in the training space down the tubes. Oh my God. Gonorrhea would have been a great name for diarrhea medicine. Thank you, Frank. So what about zeroing firearms with iron sights? We got a nice little text message from somebody asking like, hey, you guys are talking about all this other stuff. What about iron sights, pistols, rifles, whatever? What do we do?
I mean, honestly, the concepts don't really change. From sighting system to sighting system, the expectation of outcome is what should be moderated.
Exactly. So
you're looking at the precision of the sighting system in which you're using, right?
Is it reasonable to expect to hit a 7/8 paster with a Glock 34 with, I don't know, a set of Dawson precision sights on it at 10 yards?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Your focal point of your aim is going to vary.
Yep.
But absolutely reasonable, right?
Right. The tool
the
still capable.
The principles and concepts that we presented here, while we mentioned a lot of red dots and variable power optics and so forth, the iron sights make no difference. The only thing that changes is the reasonable expectation of the outcome and the accuracy of that combination and platform, right? To harken back to an episode, one of Cam's episodes, precision is in reference to the quality and the tolerances within the rifle or firearm itself. The accuracy is the ability of all things combined to include the input from the shooter, the type of ammunition, the environment, and the situation, and what you're going to hit.
If I knew a guy who taught FTT 221 sights, optics, and accuracy for SDI, and that guy was to ask his students to define the difference between precision and accuracy, he might accept something to the effect of precision is a mechanical construct, accuracy is a human construct using the mechanical tool.
There you go.
Right? Fucking put my professor hat on for a moment. I forget if that's exactly what it says in the course description, but something like that. Ideally, right, you would be able to apply your own human capabilities and accuracy to the most precise tool that you could possibly get your hands on. So what about like firearms that shoot? And by the way, you guys are killing it with the text messages. I love this fucking, hey, real quick, fuck you, YouTube. I love how YouTube gives us a viewer count, and I've got a text message thread full of people asking me questions that are apparently not watching, and yet somehow they know how to ask me a question on the exact thing we're talking about right now. I think that's hilarious. Mr. Manual YouTube reviewer, fuck you. Anyway, moving on. What about firearms that shoot multiple calibers, such as a 357 versus 38 lever gun or a 357 versus 38 revolver? For example, I've got a 10 millimeter Ruger GP 100 match champion, my revolver that I shoot sometimes when I want people to make fun of me at the range. And that bad boy, I've got the adjustable sights on that zeroed for 40 Smith & Wesson because that's what I compete with. Right? So now what?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I've got 10 millimeter Buffalo Board Bear Nut Buster 3000 rounds that I got to put in that thing. I do suppose I should expect a different point of aim, point of impact. Oh, Frank, what about a judge? What about a judge? I should bring the Taurus judge that I stole from one of my students to class this coming weekend so we can roast it all weekend and shoot all the video on it. That would be hilarious. What about a judge?
Should I bring my Derringer?
What? All right, this would be fun. What's the worst fucking gun we could both teach with this weekend? What do we both have that's just like?
I mean, I've got a 50 cal Hawken that I can bring. That's actually my favorite rifle.
No, it's pistol. It's defensive pistol metrics. I could teach with.
At you, knave. At the top of the stairs, I loaded the cannon with grape shot.
Oh my god!
Took out 3 of the rapscallion.
Oh my god! I could teach you with a Ruger Security 9.
I've got a Ruger SR22.
Oh, fucking gross. There's a dude who shoots IDPA with us sometimes that's known to shoot like revolvers and random camp carbines and shit. And my man has a Ruger. What the fuck does he have? What's the Ruger? The LC9?
Yeah.
Like the worst recoiling 9mm knuckle buster on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And he is out there.
It's almost as bad as the Remington R1.
Oh, it is. And he's out there, and my man is just, I don't want to say burning it down, but he is like, I'm nobody's pussy. I'm just going to keep running this thing. And I'm watching his hands the whole time I'm running him. I'm standing there like this with my fucking hoodie up. I'm like looking down the barrel like, nah, fam, I ain't doing that shit. I ain't in for this. I can't believe like the fact that he shot as many competitions as he shot with that gun and has not just like given up and taken up basket weaving or something is fucking incredible to me. And then when he's feeling froggy, he's like, you know what? I'm going to double down on this shit. I'm going to run me a J-frame revolver. And he's out there digging in his pockets for fucking speed loaders and shit. And I'm like sitting there thinking, fucking Zero, how are we getting through recoil management on these guns? I have no idea. And he's just 8 inch. I'm like, whoa, dude. But God bless that guy. If somebody ever does fuck with him, he's going to put 4 to 7 rounds of 9mm somewhere in the general area of their torso, depending on whether that gun decides that its fucking recoil spring is going to give up the ghost on him on federal HST or not. I don't want to dig back far enough into the YouTube archives to show him the video of me breaking a recoil spring and guide rod by shooting defensive ammo out of that gun in 2014. But anyway, so multi-caliber zeros. So if you had, say, a 38/357, what would you set your zero to?
Whatever ammo I commonly use in that gun.
Right. And how much variance or
it's no different. It's no different than our training ammo versus our concealed carry ammo, right?
Right. But
if I'm shooting,
what's our standard going to be? How much are we going to allow for variance?
I'm not. Because maybe I'm delivering the response incorrectly here, but if I'm going to carry that, my use case, if my standard use case is going to mean ammo X is in that gun more often than ammo Y, then I'm zeroing to ammo X. I'm going to understand what the difference is, right? Because presumably ammo Y is what I'm going to use for training or whatever have you, but I'm not going to adjust my zero. Unless the deviation becomes so much so that you can't complete the task or the training hand, where it becomes diminutive to training, right? And if there's that much of a variation, either switch your ammo or get a new gun.
Well, so I'm thinking like ode to Caleb Giddings, right? Like he's talking about finding ammo that hits to your sights on a revolver. And dudes on the internet are roasting him, being like, "Oh, yeah, what are you talking about? What do you mean ammo that hits to the sights? It's just a..."
Yeah, because that's how you zero a fixed sight gun.
Right. Find the ammo that hits to the sights. That's all you can do.
Right. That's the only thing it's the only thing you can control. Unless you're pulling out some old school cowboy action shit where you're filing the front sight down. Or if you're crazy people, TIG welding that sight back up. Right? You got to find ammo that fits the gun. If that's the only variable that you can control in those circumstances when you have a fixed sight firearm. I'd say the same thing for an old 1911 that had iron sights, like mil spec, straight up iron sights, because you don't want to drift those things too far, because they will come out on you, right? Find you an ammo that hits as close to point of aim as you can. Am I wrong?
No, that's it. That's all I get. Short of crazy mechanical changes to the gun. That's all I get.
Right. And I've got a bastard file and a Dremel. I'm practically a master gunsmith.
Yes. That term's getting thrown around a lot lately.
What, master gunsmith?
Just gunsmith.
Or bastard?
Well, bastard. Dealer's choice, you pick. Frank thinks I won't teach defensive pistol metrics this weekend with a 3H LCR 38.
Go for it.
So here's the deal. I do have the Enigma set up for an LCR holster, but it'll only accommodate the 1.78 inch. So I really couldn't draw the gun right. If I could kind of sort of half-ass draw that gun right, I'd be down. If somebody had a left-handed,
do it with a high point.
I wonder if a high point fits in my MSP Pro series or one of my floodlights.
It wouldn't be a floodlight if it didn't.
All right. I don't know. Slow fire at 25. Yeah, man. Dude, I ain't afraid. I ain't scared to be afraid. I ain't afraid to be scared. I'll do some crazy shit.
Of course, Frank, I know you have a high point, and I'm almost certain it's the one that has $100 bills printed all over it, don't you?
I'm 1,000% certain that is the case.
Yeah, he's got a yeet cannon. I'm almost certain of it.
I'm sure he probably has the comped high point.
High point won't fit floodlight. All right. Let's get a message out to Philster.
No. Yeah, we are not calling Sarah and John up and go.
Universal my ass. It won't fit my VCR of a handgun.
Yeah. It won't fit my goddamn terrible. Frank. See, we got Frank going now. Frank's going to show up to the range with a truck full of terrible guns this weekend.
Bring it.
This is not.
Bring it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Frank, there's your assignment. Find the top 3 shittiest guns you own.
He's going to be digging a while, dude.
Right?
He's going to be digging a long time. Well, I don't know if we covered everything we wanted to cover tonight, but I do think we did a good job of zeroing in on the high points. I got it in.
We hit.
Hold on, TJ. Let me real quick match the TJ flex. We'll start doing
I'm not
that.
flexing.
Okay, fuck you.
I'm not flexing.
Oh man, I don't even think my high PZ has a front side. Great. You know what? Cold Drill Friday, dust it off. I will shoot I will shoot consequences with a front sightless high point and see what my score is. I will do that. That I will do. And I will do it on the internet for all of you to fucking just tear me to pieces over. I will do that for Cold Drill Friday.
What'll be really fucked up is if you have like the highest score that you've ever scored ever.
Bro, if I hit a friggin', 400.
You get like a 99% on that damn thing.
Oh no, that would be bad.
I think our friends from Gunset would come down and personally shake your hand and then tar and feather you.
Yeah, really. Scotty would have to give up his throne to a high point. That would just be terrible. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't even know what to do.
Not just a high point, a front sightless high point fired by a guy who's blind.
This is really not a bad idea as far as promotional material goes. Shit, man, I've done dumber things for money on the internet. What the fuck? Let's fire it up.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Good
stuff, man. Well, good
something down there.
What's that?
We need to get Trey in a video camera and do something while we're down there.
I feel like it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't.
That's what I'm saying. I should probably have texted him about that. It'll happen. You can't have a good grip to run it. Good grip and it stalls the slide. Great. So
Hold on. Consequences, front sightless high point, legally blind, and you have to hold it sideways.
oh
my God.
Shenanigans. This is into absolute shenanigans.
Yeah, well, that's what makes the show fun and keeps our people coming back. So the colorful commentary and general tomfoolery.
It'll have to be on Friday or Sunday. No Trey on Saturday. Okay. Maybe Monday.
I'll be leaving that morning.
Yeah. I mean, if it's anything like last time, I'll say I'm going to leave at 7 a.m. Monday and I'll roll out of there promptly at about 3:30
on Thursday.
Yeah. Oh, man. Who knows, dude?
Yeah. Good times.
Who knows? Well, I think we taught some people some things about some stuff. That always feels good.
And entertain them at the same time.
Well, I don't know about that part. But, yeah. Confirm your dope. Go shoot your zeros. Shoot your zeros at the various distances you expect to be able to shoot them at. Confirm your data. Do it for yourself. Don't trust anybody else except us. Pay us many, many dollars because we know the things. No, man, seriously, don't ask me what your zero should be if you're not going to go confirm your dope front to back and side to side on it. And I'm actually not. The dudes this weekend weren't really. It was just like the common questions were arising, and I was like, man, we really need to delve into this in the podcast and talk through it. So we haven't done it.
Yeah.
So
it's been a hot minute. It's been a hot minute.
We sell or t-shirts or charities or people that we help. What do we do? Do we do things?
Of course, we have Cam's shirt going on, right? The Cam's Ass Kicking Contest Invitational is still available. Head on over to Teespring. Check that out. We've got links all over our Facebook page. Of course, if you don't want to buy a shirt to support Cam, you feel free to donate to his GoFundMe directly. Links are also in the description. Yeah, that's really about it for the t-shirt thing. We do have some new t-shirt designs coming, right? Going to sit down. We're going to work on the Gun Scoundrel line and go from there.
If I ever get my fucking article done, someday I will write.
Gotta do your homework.
www.greenmountaindefense.com/training. Come take the classes with the people that teach you to do the things. 2023 calendar's about ready to drop. We're going to be in all kinds of cool places with cool people, teaching and learning and doing the cool stuff. Still have defensive pistol metrics, a couple slots open in Apache in North Carolina, not very many. And we still have not very many slots, probably 3 or 4 slots for defensive rifle metrics too, coming up at the end of October. So we're filling classes. That is good. For some reason you don't want to train with me or us, train with them. Who's them? Apache Solutions out of Yacksonville, North Carolina, gunset training out of Dayton, Ohio area. Sam D. Simoni and the Evolution Training Solutions crew. Phil Groff and Vigor Training. Tim Herron of Tim Herron Shooting. Scott Jedlinski Modern Samurai Project. Bill Rapier. Better yet, stop listening to Kent, read the names, and just go to the Sling'N Led podcast, watch 100 episodes. And if we've talked about them or featured them in their own full-length episode, we probably believe they're a worthwhile trainer. So please go patronize them. Read the things, get the resources. greenmountaindefense.com/resources is where you find the book recommendations, the articles, all the cool stuff we put out. And last but not least, please take care of each other and
get out and shoot.
There we go. I read your part. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. We're out, folks. See you next time.
I read the thing. I'm like Ron Burgundy.